Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. I make beer. I'm Steve. Today we're going to be diving into a West Coast IPA. We're going to be using an experimental hop this time for our IPA. It's going to be 2-row Munich Malt, Carafoam, and Crystal 60 for this grain bill. And as I said, experimental hops, 17704, I think that's what the number is. I got to look again. And they're 10.1% alpha acid. Also going to be using Mosaic hops in combination with these experimental hops. Let's make some beer. In here we're just adding our salts. And then I was milling our grain. Again, double crush with a claw hammer. And then we're adding our grain into the claw hammer. You can see the recipe there. And then mixing up the grain, getting out the dough balls. And we mashed at 156. Then I took a pH, which came out to 5.6. I did add acid to the mash, and it lowered it down to 5.5. I probably shouldn't have just wasted the time. So I got to make sure my fermenter is cleaned out with the PPW. It's been soaking since the last brew. And I just got to make sure it's all cleaned out. I got to clean the jar, and then we will run some Star Sand through it, but we'll do that during the boil. So this is what 9 pounds of grain looks like, or not 9, I think, sorry, 13 pounds of grain looks like, with 8 gallons of water, and it is like right to the top. So I got this lifted up a little bit so it's just sitting on the edge. And then I got an old stir paddle there holding up the other side of the lid. So there's half an ounce of the experimental hops here. Can't even see it because it's so dark. There we go. And a 1/4 ounce of Mosaic. So this is going in at 60 minutes. All right, so first edition's going in. So when I recalculated for this particular brew on Beersmith, I actually increased the efficiency, my brew house efficiency. I moved it up to 72%. And as of right now, it just starting to boil, I'm at 1.050, and I was supposed to be at 1.049. So we'll see after the boil what our gravity is, and hopefully our efficiency I've got dialed in. The only thing is when I do bigger beers, higher alcohol beers, I actually have to lower that efficiency. And right now I've got it set at 65% for those big beers. So hopefully in the next 1 or 2 beers down the road, because I do want to do another Belgian Trappist, and that one will be obviously a higher alcohol beer. I have some yeast that I collected off of another Belgian that I did. So I'm going to reuse that yeast, and that'll be the first time I've done that. So that will be another experiment. So right now our numbers are looking good. We're dead nuts, you know, for 1 point up. So we'll keep it going. We'll see what happens. We just started the boil. We just did our first edition. We are in maybe 10 minutes into the boil. So at 30 minutes, we're actually doing a 1/4 ounce of each of the experimental and the Mosaic. So a total of 1/2 ounce of hops going in at 30 minutes. So with 10 minutes left, we need to add a 1/4 ounce of each of the hops. So total of 1/2 ounce at 10 minutes. All right, so the Whirlpool's going. We're adding our Whirlpool hops. This is going to be 3/4 of an ounce of each. So it's 3/4 of an ounce for the Mosaic and 3/4 of the ounce for the experimental. That's 1.5 ounces. We're going to dump that right in there. Not using a hop spider on that one because it interferes, I think, with the Whirlpool. So I'll just let the Whirlpool push it all into the center. All right, so we got our Whirlpool going. And we are at 192. Heat's off, pump's going. Let this go for, what did I say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? And then we'll turn off the pump, let everything settle out, and then we'll start cooling it. Strong identity and confidence when you were coming up as oh my God. 106.1. Then here we're just filling the fermenter. And I checked the gravity with the hydrometer instead of the refractor because this is more accurate. Right now the fermenter's full. It's at about 80 degrees. Obviously it's summer. We're not getting that cold of water through my regular tap. So we'll put it in the cooler. We'll get it down to about 66, 67 degrees. And then I'll pitch the yeast. So it'll probably be a couple hours. So I got stuff to do. We'll catch you later. So at about 8 days in, I took the fermenter out and took the jar off the bottom of the Fermzilla and removed the Trub. And then you'll see here, I'll add a clean sanitized jar back on and open it up. And then I continued on with the cold crash. In here, I'm just purging the clean sanitized jar with CO2. Then after 12 days of fermenting, we did our closed transfer into the keg. So, welcome back to my channel. I make beer. So today we're going to do the tasting of the experimental IPA that we brewed. This one used the Washington grown experimental hops 17704, and I also use Mosaic hops in this. Excuse me, just so you know, the 17704 is still in experimental phase, but it is said to have blackcurrant, passion fruit, papaya, and citron aromas, as well as some earthy and piney notes. So I'm excited to see how this one turned out. We've got the glass right here. I make beer. So real quick, we just go over the ingredients for this recipe. It was a 5-gallon batch. I used 9 pounds of two-row, 3 pounds Munich Malt, 8 ounces of Carafoam, 8 ounces of Caramel Crystal 80, We used half an ounce of the experimental hops, 17704 at the 60 minute. And we also used a quarter ounce of Mosaic hops at 60 minutes. Then at 30 minutes, we added another quarter ounce of the experimental and a quarter ounce of Mosaic. At 10 minutes, I ordered a quarter ounce of the experimental and a quarter ounce of the Mosaic. And then at flame out or Whirlpool, however you want to put it, I put in 3/4 ounce of the experimental 17704 and 3/4 ounce of the Mosaic hops. And then when everything was cooled, we used Safe Ale US-05 for fermentation. We mashed the grains at 156 for 60 minutes. We mashed out at 172. And as you figured out, we did a 60-minute boil. So this one fermented like 12 days, almost 2 weeks we had fermented. Then I kegged it, put it at 2.3 volume. Critic. The initial gravity of this beer was at 1.060, and it finished out at 1.018. So it's a 5.6% alcohol. Let's get into the tasting. Sorry, this has been sitting here for a few minutes, so now my head just disappeared, but it does have a really good head. Turned out really well. The first thing I noticed on this was the aroma. I've already had a couple pints of this. I don't know. I got it in the keg and started drinking it pretty quick. But it's a nice citrus aroma, tropical aroma, a little bit earthy. And then with the Mosaic hops, are providing mango, stone fruit, tropical fruit, citrus. So they sort of work well together, the two hops. Beer's a little bitter. It's not really too bad. You don't really get the amount of bitterness. It was just came out at IBUs of 63. But considering it finished up so high gravity-wise at a 1.18, that it's not as bitter as it would be on paper, as it reads. So overall, I'm happy with this experimental hops. The experimental hops, they did add some unique flavors, a little bit different than, obviously just adding Mosaic alone. And I'm a Mosaic lover. You know that from my previous video when I did the Mosaic Cream Ale. So I would definitely recommend trying this. At least try the hops. You don't have to do my recipe specifically, but if you can come across these hops, they are out there. You can get them on the marketplace. We just happened to get them at the Genesee Brew House, so I was able to take some home with me. But they're a good hop, and I would imagine that whatever they end up calling these in the near future, they're going to be pretty popular. Like I said, they work really well with the Mosaic hops. And as I said before, the 5-gallon recipe will be in the description below. I also wanted to say one more thing. I'm wearing my, you can see this, Side Hustle Brewery, which is down in Hilton Head. I go down to Hilton Head quite a bit. And just today, I happened to wear this shirt. Today, I just wanted to see what happened at the Great American Beer Festival. And the only South Carolina brewery that won anything was Side Hustle. They won a bronze for their Make It Rain, which is a juicy or hazy India Pale Ale. So those guys catch this. I did shout out on them on Facebook, but you guys are watching this. Hey, congratulations. Good job. The only South Carolina brewery that got an award there. But anyways, side note. So, hey, thanks for watching, guys. As always, please subscribe, please like, leave comments. I've had people starting to leave some comments, and I get right back to them as soon as I can. I'm not going to ignore comments, good or bad. I'll take both. Bad are good in a way, because bad comments are going to make me maybe change something up and help me become a better brewer. So any type of comments you guys want to make, go right ahead. I'll be happy to read them, and like I said, I'll review them. So again, cheers. I make beer. Oh, don't forget the store. That's down in the description below too. Keep watching, guys. We'll be back next week. We got something different next week. We're going a little bigger. Well, not really, but sort of. Anyways, cheers, guys. Have a good one.